First contact deception. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the humans entered. Admiral Weizhong led the small delegation, his weathered face betraying nothing as the assembled aliens, representatives from over 30 spacefaring civilizations, turned to watch with barely concealed disdain. "The primitives have arrived," whispered a tall, translucent being to its companion. Its voice, though meant to be private, carried clearly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. Wei's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Lieutenant Commander Eliza Hayes, walking 3 steps behind him, maintained her diplomatic smile. The translation implants they'd been given upon arrival functioned perfectly. Another piece of alien technology that the Galactic Council assumed humans could barely comprehend, let alone improve upon. High Counselor Vextar, a 12-foot arthropoid with gleaming exoskeleton plates, gestured with one of its 4 upper limbs. Representatives of Earth approached the speaking dais. We nodded respectfully and stepped forward, his simple blue uniform a stark contrast to the ornate regalia worn by most alien representatives. The chamber itself was a testament to technologies the aliens believed were far beyond human reach. Gravity manipulators allowing species from worlds 10 times Earth's mass to move comfortably alongside those from microgravity environments. Atmospheric bubbles providing custom breathing mixtures to each delegation, and transparent walls that somehow looked out onto the vacuum of space without any visible support structure. "Honored Council," Wei began, his voice steady. "Earth thanks you for this opportunity to petition for observer status in your esteemed alliance." A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Vextar's mandibles clicked together in what the humans had learned was laughter. "Observer status," repeated Vextar. "That is ambitious for a species that only achieved rudimentary fusion power less than a century ago." From the gallery, a bulbous, gelatinous creature pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "Do they still use chemical rockets for orbital insertion?" it asked, not bothering to lower its resonance patterns. "Indeed," answered a metallic being composed of interlocking plates. "We monitored their pitiful attempts at a Mars colony. Half their habitats failed due to radiation leakage their sensors couldn't even detect." More laughter filled the chamber. Wei smiled politely, as if not understanding the mockery. Behind him, Eliza Hayes made a small notation on her datapad. "Primitive by galactic standards, with an actual physical interface rather than the neural connections most species used." "We have much to learn," Wei said simply. "Earth seeks knowledge and peaceful exchange." Vextar's compound eyes shifted focus. "Perhaps a demonstration of your current capabilities would be educational for us all." The arthropoid's voice carried an unmistakable undertone of cruel amusement. "We would be honored," Wei replied, bowing slightly. "Excellent." Vextar's appendages clicked together. "Tomorrow, then, each petitioning species demonstrates their most advanced technologies. It is tradition." As the human delegation was escorted to their assigned quarters, Spartan accommodations on the station's lowest level, Eliza Hayes finally allowed her diplomatic mask to slip. "Their arrogance is almost painful to watch," she muttered, running a scanner disguised as a bracelet over the room's surfaces. "Clear," she announced after a moment. We nodded, his posture relaxing slightly. "They're following the pattern exactly as intelligence predicted. Overconfidence, condescension, the complete lack of imagination regarding what humans might be capable of." "Sir, the Zenith is in position," Hayes asked, referring to her command. Officially Earth's first experimental faster-than-light vessel, but in reality something far more advanced. "Along with the rest of Ghost Fleet," Wei confirmed. "They've been in position for 3 weeks, cloaked and observing. The Council has no idea we've mapped their entire defense grid." Hayes smiled, not the practiced diplomatic smile she'd worn all day, but something sharper. "Tomorrow should be interesting. Remember," Wei cautioned, "we maintain the facade. No matter how much they mock, no matter what they reveal. We're here to gather intelligence, not show our hand. That comes later." The later came sooner than expected. At 300 station time, Hayes's encrypted communicator vibrated against her wrist. She was awake and alert instantly. "Commander," came the voice of Captain Reyes from the zenith. "We have a situation. A Drelax battle cruiser just dropped out of FTL near Neptune. Scanners show they're preparing mining drones." Hayes cursed softly. The Drelax, a mercenary species known for their aggressive resource acquisition, had clearly decided Earth's solar system was ripe for exploitation. "Have they detected you?" she asked. "Negative. Our phase shift cloak is holding. They have no idea we're watching them." Hayes glanced at Admiral Wei, who had awakened at the first vibration of her communicator. His expression was grim but resigned. "So much for diplomacy," he said quietly. "They're testing us, seeing if we'll even notice someone stealing from our backyard." Hayes nodded. "Permission to deploy countermeasures, sir." Wei considered for a long moment. "Minimal response only. Make it look like automated defenses. Nothing that reveals our true capabilities." Hayes relayed the orders. Within minutes, the Drelax cruiser reported multiple system failures. Their mining drones went offline one by one, disabled by targeted electromagnetic pulses that appeared to come from crude defense satellites, the kind of technology humans might plausibly possess. The cruiser retreated, but the message was clear. The Galactic Council considered Earth's resources available for taking. The following morning, as the human delegation entered the council chamber for their demonstration, the atmosphere had shifted subtly. Several representatives, including the Drelax, watched them with newfound wariness. Vextar called the session to order. "Before the Earth delegation presents their technologies, the Drelax representative wishes to register a complaint." A heavily armored being with an elongated cranium rose from its gravity chair. "Last night, one of our resource survey vessels was attacked in the system these humans claim as their territory. Primitive electromagnetic weapons damaged valuable equipment." Wei stepped forward, his expression one of diplomatic concern. "We maintain automated defensive systems around our home planet. If your vessel entered our system without authorization, those defenses would activate. We apologize for any damage, but perhaps proper diplomatic channels should be established before survey operations are conducted." The Drelax representative's ridged forehead flushed with anger, but Vextar interrupted before it could respond. "Indeed. Now, humans, please proceed with your demonstration." Wei bowed and stepped back, allowing Hayes to take the center position. She activated her primitive datapad, which projected a simple hologram of Earth's solar system. "Esteemed Council, Earth has recently achieved what we consider a significant milestone: sustained fusion power and rudimentary faster-than-light communication." She displayed schematics for energy systems that were, in reality, 2 centuries out of date for human technology. Polite but dismissive murmurs filled the chamber. One representative yawned visibly, its 3 mouths stretching wide. Hayes continued her presentation, showing Earth's most advanced spacecraft, vessels that would have been considered museum pieces by the actual Earth Defense Fleet. Throughout it all, she maintained perfect composure as the alien representatives exchanged looks of amusement and superiority. "As you can see," she concluded, "we have much to learn from the Galactic Council's wisdom and experience." Vextar's mandibles clicked together. "Indeed, your technologies are quaint. The Council will deliberate on your petition for observer status, though I must note that typically, species at your development level are classified as protectorates rather than observers." "Protectorates?" Wei asked, feigning ignorance. A serpentine representative with gleaming scales explained with obvious condescension. "Primitive species requiring guidance and, occasionally, resource management assistance. For your own protection, of course." "Of course," Wei replied smoothly. "Earth would be grateful for any guidance the Council sees fit to provide." As the delegation returned to their quarters, Hayes's communicator vibrated again. This time, it wasn't just one Drelax cruiser. Sensors detected a fleet of 50 vessels dropping out of FTL at the edge of the solar system. They're not even waiting for the council's decision, Hayes said grimly. Wei's expression hardened. They never intended to. This was always about assessing whether we were worth conquering or could be exploited without resistance. He made a decision that would change the course of human history. Commander Hayes, you are hereby ordered to return to the Zenith and assume command of Ghost Fleet. Operation Revelation is now in effect. Hayes nodded sharply. And you, sir? Wei smiled thinly. I'll remain here as a distraction. It's time the Galactic Council learned why underestimating humanity is a grave mistake. As Hayes slipped away to a prearranged extraction point, Admiral Wyjong prepared to attend that evening's council reception, where the aliens would learn that the primitives they had been mocking had teeth. The ultimatum. The council reception was in full swing when Admiral Wyjong entered the Grand Hall. Crystalline fountains sprayed liquids in mesmerizing patterns, while anti-gravity platforms allowed representatives from vastly different species to mingle at various heights and atmospheric conditions. The opulence was deliberate, a display of technological supremacy meant to awe lesser species like humans. Wei accepted a drink from a hovering service drone and sipped it calmly, listening to the conversations around him. The translation implants worked perfectly, though not for the reasons the council believed. Resource extraction already underway. The humans won't even notice until it's too late, a Drelax officer was saying to a group of interested representatives. Their outer planets have remarkable concentrations of rare isotopes. Added another alien, this one from a species that appeared to be composed entirely of interlocking crystalline structures. Their primitive sensors can't even detect our mining operations beyond their asteroid belt. We checked his chronometer discreetly. Commander Hayes would have reached the Zenith by now. Ghost Fleet would be moving into position. High Counselor Vextar approached, mandibles clicking in what passed for a cordial greeting. Admiral Zhang, I trust you are enjoying our hospitality. It's magnificent, Wei replied sincerely. Your technologies are truly impressive. Yes, Vextar agreed. The Council has deliberated on Earth's petition. Given your species' developmental stage, we've decided to extend protectorate status. This is quite generous, I should add. Protectorate, Wei repeated. And what exactly does that entail? A new voice joined the conversation. The Drelax representative. It means, human, that your resources will be managed by more advanced civilizations. For optimal utilization, you'll be compensated, of course, with technologies appropriate for your development level. I see, said Wei, his voice neutral. And the fleet currently entering our solar system, is that part of this resource management? A moment of surprised silence followed. The Drelax representative recovered quickly. You detected our ships. Impressive for your primitive sensors. Yes, they are conducting an initial survey. No cause for alarm. 50 warships seems excessive for a survey, Wei remarked. Vextar's compound eyes shifted focus patterns in what Wei recognized as embarrassment. The council leader hadn't been informed of the scale of the Drelax operation. A standard precaution. The Drelax representative insisted. Some systems contain unexpected hazards. Wei took another sip of his drink. Indeed they do. His communicator vibrated once. Hayes' signal that Ghost Fleet was in position. Wei placed his drink on a passing service drone and straightened his uniform. High Counselor Vextar, representatives of the Galactic Council, he announced, his voice carrying across the reception hall. Earth appreciates your offer of protectorate status. However, we must respectfully decline. Confused murmurs spread through the gathering. Vextar's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. Decline. That is not how this works. Admiral, the Council has determined. The Council, Wei interrupted firmly, has made assumptions about humanity based on what we allowed you to see. He activated a small device on his wrist. The Grand Hall's ambient lighting dimmed as a high-resolution hologram materialized in the center of the room. It showed a real-time image of the Drelax fleet approaching Jupiter. Your mining fleet, I believe, Wei said to the stunned Drelax representative. Before anyone could respond, the hologram shifted to show another image. Dozens of vessels shimmering into visibility around the Drelax ships. Vessels with smooth organic lines and no visible propulsion systems. Vessels that had been completely undetectable until this moment. And this, Wei continued calmly, is a small portion of Earth's defense fleet. Pandemonium erupted in the reception hall. Representatives shouted questions and accusations. Vextar's exoskeleton paled to an ashen gray. Impossible. The Drelax representative snarled. This is some primitive deception. Wei's expression remained composed. Is it? Perhaps you should contact your fleet commander. On the hologram, the human vessels began emitting focused pulses of energy, not at the Drelax ships themselves, but at key points in space around them. Space itself seemed to ripple and distort. What are they doing? Demanded Vextar. Neutralizing their faster-than-light capabilities, Wei explained as if discussing the weather. By creating localized phase space distortions, a relatively simple application of dimensional folding technology. The Drelax representative was frantically attempting to contact its fleet. This is impossible. You're a pre-singularity species. Your civilization hasn't even unified your planetary government. Wei smiled slightly. Another misconception. Earth united over 70 years ago, shortly after we detected your council's observation probes in our outer system. The hologram shifted again, showing the Drelax ships completely surrounded. Their weapon systems appeared to be offline, their hulls dark except for emergency lighting. You've been monitoring us for decades, Wei continued, watching what we allowed you to see. Primitive rockets, clumsy space stations, nuclear fission followed by basic fusion power, all carefully crafted to present the image of a species just reaching for the stars. Why? Vextar demanded. Why this deception? Because we observed how the Council treats emerging civilizations, Wei replied. Resource extraction, technological suppression disguised as appropriate development guidelines, cultural manipulation. We decided to learn everything we could about the galactic community before revealing our true capabilities. A new alert appeared on the hologram. The Drelax ships were being systematically disabled, not destroyed, but rendered completely inoperable. This is an act of war, the Drelax representative bellowed. Wei's expression hardened slightly. No, an act of war was sending a military fleet into sovereign territory, without declaration or diplomatic outreach. What you're witnessing is a proportional defensive response. He turned to address the entire gathering. Earth has no interest in conflict with the Galactic Council or its member species. We desire peaceful exchange and cooperation, as equals, not as a protectorate. However, we will defend our sovereignty with whatever means necessary. The reception hall had grown deathly quiet. The hologram showed the disabled Drelax fleet being encircled by human vessels that seemed to phase in and out of normal space, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. What exactly are your capabilities? Vextar asked finally, mandibles trembling slightly. Wei considered the question. Earth achieved what you call the technological singularity approximately 90 years ago. Our real advancements have been hidden from your observation. 90 years. The crystalline being's voice was filled with disbelief. That's impossible. The developmental timeline from pre-spaceflight to singularity takes centuries, even for the most advanced species. Perhaps for species that develop along conventional paths, Wei acknowledged. Humanity's progress was accelerated by certain unique factors. On the hologram, a new vessel appeared, larger than the others, with a distinctive silhouette that seemed to bend light around it. The Zenith, Commander Hayes' flagship. The Council has a choice to make, Wei continued. Acknowledge Earth as a sovereign power and engage with us diplomatically, or continue to view us as a resource to be exploited. The consequences of the latter choice are currently being demonstrated to the Drelax fleet. Vextar's compound eyes shifted rapidly between Wei and the hologram. You've concealed quantum phase technology, dimensional manipulation capabilities, and advanced stealth systems. What else have you hidden? Wei's expression revealed nothing. That depends entirely on how this conversation progresses, High Counselor. As if on cue, the hologram showed another development. The Zenith was projecting some kind of energy field that completely engulfed 3 Drelax ships. When the field dissipated, the ships were simply gone, transported elsewhere, though none of the Council representatives knew where. Those vessels, we noted calmly, have been relocated to high orbit around Earth. Their crews will be treated humanely and returned to their homeworld after diplomatic channels are established. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. The Drelax representative was speechless, its armored exoskeleton now pale with shock. You should also know, Wei added, that similar human fleets are currently positioned near 17 other Council member worlds, including all those engaged in what you call resource management of less developed species. We've been watching for some time. The revelation sent another wave of panic through the gathered representatives. Species that had believed themselves among the most technologically advanced in the galaxy were suddenly confronted with the possibility that their activities had been observed by an unseen force for years. What do you want? Vextar asked finally, all pretense of superiority gone. Wei's response was measured. A seat on the Council, recognition of Earth's sovereign territory, and immediate cessation of all exploitative practices against developing civilizations throughout the galaxy. Those are our opening terms. And if we refuse? The Drelax representative found its voice again, though it lacked its former confidence. Wei looked directly at the alien. Then Commander Hayes has authorization to demonstrate more advanced capabilities of our fleet. I assure you, what you've seen so far is quite restrained. The hologram shifted one final time, showing hundreds of human vessels decloaking throughout the solar system. Ships that had been there all along, undetected by the most sophisticated Council sensors. You have 6 hours to begin formal diplomatic negotiations, Wei stated. I'll return to my quarters to await your decision. As he turned to leave, Vextar called after him. Admiral, was everything a deception? Your technological demonstrations yesterday. Wei paused. Consider it a lesson, High Counselor. Appearances can be deceiving, and underestimating others is rarely wise. He left the reception hall in stunned silence, the hologram of Earth's ghost fleet still hovering above the gathered representatives of the Galactic Council. The message was unmistakable. Humanity would no longer hide in the shadows, and the galaxy would never be the same. Turning the tide. Commander Eliza Hayes stood on the bridge of the Zenith, watching as the disabled Drelax ships were secured by her fleet. The operation had gone flawlessly, a textbook execution of overwhelming force without a single casualty on either side. Status report, she ordered. Her executive officer, Commander Jackson, responded promptly. All Drelax vessels neutralized. No casualties. 3 ships have been phase shifted to Earth orbit as the Admiral ordered. The remaining fleet is being held in dimensional stasis. Hayes nodded. And our losses? None, Commander. Their weapons couldn't penetrate our phase shields. It wasn't surprising. While the Galactic Council possessed impressive technology, they had grown complacent. Their weapons were designed to overpower known defenses, not counterphase systems that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Maintain alert status, Hayes instructed. The Council may have other assets nearby. Her communications officer turned from her station. Commander, we're receiving multiple distress calls from the Council station. It appears several delegations are attempting to leave. Hayes smiled grimly. Let them go, but make sure they see our ships as they depart. I want every member world to understand exactly what they're dealing with. The tactical display showed dozens of small diplomatic vessels departing the Council station, each one carefully tracked by Ghost Fleet sensors. As ordered, human ships decloaked in their path, not threatening, but impossible to ignore. Message from Admiral Zhang, announced the communications officer. Hayes straightened. Put him through. Admiral Y's holographic image appeared on the bridge. "Well done, Commander. The demonstration has had the desired effect. The Council is in disarray, but Vextar has requested emergency negotiations." "Do you believe they're sincere?" Hayes asked. Way's expression was measured. "They're certainly sincere in their fear. Whether that translates to respect remains to be seen. Prepare to receive some visitors. I've invited key council representatives to tour the Zenith." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Sir, is that wise?" "It's necessary," Way replied. "They need to understand that we could have revealed ourselves at any time over the past decades, that we chose patience over dominance. It's important. They see humans as something other than conquerors." "Understood, sir. When should we expect them?" 2 hours. And Eliza, make sure they see everything. It's time for complete transparency. 2 hours later, Hayes stood in the Zenith's main hangar as a council diplomatic shuttle docked. The massive space could have held a vessel 10 times the shuttle's size, a fact not lost on the council representatives as they disembarked. High Counselor Vextar led the delegation, followed by representatives from 7 of the most powerful council species. Admiral Way accompanied them, his expression carefully neutral. "Representatives," Hayes greeted them formally. "Welcome aboard the EDS Zenith." Vextar's compound eyes scanned the cavernous hangar. "This vessel, it's considerably larger than your specifications indicated." "Yes," Hayes acknowledged simply. "Much of the Zenith exists in overlapping dimensional spaces. What you're seeing is only the portion currently phased into normal spacetime." She led them through the ship, pointing out technologies that would have been considered theoretical by council standards. Matter-energy converters that eliminated the need for traditional supply chains. Quantum computation arrays that could process information faster than the laws of physics should allow. Propulsion systems that didn't move the ship through space, but instead folded space around the vessel. The council representatives grew increasingly subdued as the tour progressed. "Your stealth technology," asked a Serpentine representative. "How did you mask the energy signatures?" "Our sensors are calibrated to detect quantum fluctuations on a subatomic level." Hayes exchanged a glance with Admiral Way, who nodded slightly. "We don't mask them," she explained. "Our vessels exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime. You weren't detecting our ships because, in a very real sense, they weren't entirely there." "Impossible," muttered one representative, a being composed of what appeared to be living metal. "Such technology violates conservation laws." "By conventional understanding, yes," Hayes agreed. "Humanity discovered certain exceptions to those laws approximately 80 years ago." They reached the bridge, a spacious command center dominated by holographic displays, showing real-time data from throughout the solar system. One display showed Earth itself, beautiful and seemingly vulnerable. "All this technology," Vextar said finally, "and you chose to hide it. To present yourselves as primitive. Why?" Admiral Way stepped forward. "Because we observed the Council's pattern of behavior toward emerging civilizations. Resource appropriation, technological suppression, cultural manipulation. We decided to learn everything we could about the galactic community before revealing our capabilities. You spied on us," accused the Drelax representative, who had been notably silent until now. "Just as you spied on us," Way countered calmly. "The difference is, we saw everything you did, while you saw only what we wanted you to see." Hayes activated a central display. "This is a real-time map of known Council exploitation operations against developing civilizations. 26 worlds currently classified as protectorates where resources are being extracted without fair compensation or informed consent." The map was detailed, horrifyingly so. It showed mining operations, biological harvesting, and even several cases of species being relocated to make room for Council expansion. "How did you obtain this data?" demanded Vextar. "We've had observer vessels near every Council world for the past 40 years, Hayes replied, "completely undetectable to your sensors." The revelation sent a visible shock through the delegation. The implications were staggering. Humanity had been watching, learning, and preparing while the Council believed them confined to their own solar system. "What happens now?" asked the Serpentine representative, its scales shifting colors in obvious distress. Wei stepped into the center of the bridge. "That depends on the Council. Earth has no desire for conquest or domination. We seek alliance, not subjugation. But we will not accept being treated as inferiors, and we will not stand by while developing civilizations are exploited." He gestured to the display showing the disabled Drelax fleet. "We could have destroyed those ships. We chose not to. That should tell you something about our intentions." Vextar's mandibles clicked softly as it considered this. "The Council structure has existed for 12,000 years. You cannot expect us to simply change our foundational principles overnight." "We don't," Hayes interjected. "But we do expect immediate cessation of exploitative practices. The rest can be negotiated. And if we refuse," the Drelax representative challenged, though its posture lacked conviction. In answer, Hayes activated another display. It showed human vessels decloaking near 17 different Council homeworlds, not just colonies or outposts, but the sacred origin planets of the Council's founding species. "As I said," Wei replied softly, "we've had observer vessels throughout Council space for decades. We hope diplomacy prevails, but we are prepared for other outcomes." The implications hung in the air. Humanity hadn't just revealed superior technology. They had demonstrated strategic foresight that made military action suicidal. "Perhaps," Vextar said finally, "we should return to the Council station and begin formal negotiations." "A wise decision," Wei agreed. As the delegation prepared to depart, the Serpentine representative lingered, approaching Hayes. "Commander," it said quietly, "you mentioned that humanity discovered exceptions to physical laws 80 years ago. What prompted this discovery? Such breakthroughs usually occur over centuries of development." Hayes glanced at Admiral Wei, who nodded slightly. "First contact," she replied simply. The representative's scales shifted to a pale blue. "You've encountered other species, beyond the Council." "Just one," Hayes clarified. "A vessel crashed in our Arctic region. The technology was far beyond our understanding at the time, but the pilot survived long enough to communicate basic principles that helped us leapfrog conventional development paths. And this species, they never made contact with the Council. They were fleeing something." Wade joined the conversation. "They'd never specified what. Their ship was damaged beyond repair, and the pilot died within days. But they gave us enough to start down a different technological path." The Serpentine representative absorbed this with visible concern. "And you believe whatever they were fleeing might still be out there?" Wei's expression grew somber. "We consider it a possibility, which is another reason we chose to reveal ourselves now. If there are threats beyond known space, dealing with them will require cooperation, not exploitation." As the Council delegation departed, Hayes turned to Admiral Wei. "Do you think they'll honor any agreement we reach?" Wei watched the shuttle depart through the zenith's viewports. "They'll honor it because they have no choice. But genuine respect will take time. We've upended their entire understanding of the Galactic Order. And the precursor information, was it wise to reveal even that much?" Wei considered the question. "They needed to understand that our development wasn't a fluke or a deception. And if there is something out there beyond known space, something that frightened a civilization advanced enough to achieve dimensional phase technology, then we may need allies eventually." Hayes nodded, turning back to the tactical display where her fleet maintained its vigilant formation around the disabled Drelax ships. "Ghost Fleet will remain deployed until negotiations are complete," she decided. "And our observer vessels near Council homeworlds. They stay in place," Wei ordered. "Trust but verify." 3 weeks later, Admiral Weizong and Commander Eliza Hayes stood in Earth's orbital diplomatic center as representatives from the Galactic Council signed the Treaty of Sol. The document recognized Earth as a sovereign power with full Council membership established protocols for technological exchange, and most importantly, created a new framework for interaction with developing civilizations. Gone was the exploitative protectorate status. In its place, a system of graduated technological sharing and genuine cultural exchange. The council species had resisted initially, but the presence of human vessels near their homeworlds had proven persuasive. As the signing concluded, High Counselor Vextar approached Y. "You've changed everything," the arthropoid said quietly. "In 12,000 years, no species has forced such concessions from the Council." "We didn't do it through force," Y corrected gently. "We did it by demonstrating an alternative. Cooperation achieves more than exploitation in the long term." "Perhaps," Vextar acknowledged, "though I suspect the ships you still maintain near our homeworlds helped persuade some of the more traditional Council members." Wei smiled slightly. Trust builds slowly. As the Council representatives departed, Hayes joined White at the viewing platform overlooking Earth. "Phase 1 complete," she said. "What happens next?" We gazed at the blue planet below. "We rebuild the galactic order. We help developing civilizations achieve their potential without exploitation. And we prepare." "For the precursors?" Hayes asked. "Or whatever they were fleeing?" "Both, perhaps. The universe is larger and stranger than even the Council suspected. Humanity's path forward isn't conquest or isolation. It's alliance. Real alliance, built on mutual respect." Hayes nodded, watching as the Council ships departed Earth orbit. Behind them, almost invisible except to the most sensitive instruments, Ghost Fleet vessels maintained their vigilant watch. Not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new galactic order, one where humanity's place had been secured not through deception, but through the careful revelation of strength tempered by wisdom. The aliens had laughed at humans, underestimating what they couldn't understand. They wouldn't make that mistake again. And if something waited beyond known space, something that had frightened even the precursors, it would find not a fragmented galaxy of competing species, but a united front prepared to defend all sentient life. For humanity, it was just the beginning.